Hello and welcome to another episode of Suddenly Single. Today I'm very excited. I've got with me the style queen, TV presenter, possibly on one of the best shows ever, 10 years younger, author of a new book called Bolder, Not Older, which is what we think, right, about ourselves. Just wanna get out of here. You have had a pretty fascinating journey, haven't you? Because you didn't start off being a stylist. You didn't start off being this colourful. You and I have discussed that in the 80s, you were a black-wearing goth.
I was.
In South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was trying to define... had a mother who was always very colourful.
Yeah.
And in my teenage years, I completely went the opposite way. And everything I wore was black, including my hair, my nails, my room. I had sort of black drapes around my room. I used to burn tea leaves. I mean, I was such a rebel, right?
Burn tea leaves? Why did you... What? Because you couldn't do joss sticks?
Who knows? Who knows? But it was just all kind of the whole gothic, cool vibe, right? Somehow didn't burn the house down in doing all of that. But maybe that's why I'm the complete opposite now, because I had that, got all the black wearing out of my system.
And so you're very colourful, presumably blonde mum? Did she dye her hair
my
blonde like
mom's
you?
natural hair colour was actually black.
Oh,
black,
it was?
Beautiful black curly hair.
Okay.
Complete
okay.
opposite to me.
Okay.
But then she dyed it blonde as she got older. So my mother was never someone who had grey hair or gave in to being old. So she was always...
Do you know, that's a fascinating thing, because I always used to think I was going to grow gracefully old. I was going to be, as I imagine French women are, with long grey hair and no surgery, no Botox, nothing at all. I've had the lot. I dye my hair, I've had a facelift, I Botox every 15 minutes. I mean, any tweakment that's going, I'm up for it. And I really didn't think I was going to be like that. So what was the turning point for you when you go from this young girl living in South Africa as a goth? You came to England in about 10 years later, 96, yeah?
Yep.
Had you already become this colourful, wonderful being that we see before us now? Or?
I don't think I was consciously colourful. I definitely I'd come out of the goth phase then. I'd been to uni, and at uni it's just all about being with the in crowd and wearing what was ever in fashion. I mean, let's face it, South Africa when I grew up was not the height of fashion, so I think it was just whatever was going. I remember having some bright green Levi's.
Oh yes,
when all the coloured Levi's
yes.
were in. I remember that, saving up for those. So there definitely was an element of colour in my wardrobe, but it wasn't like a conscious thing of like I'm obsessed with colour. I just wore whatever was in fashion and cool at the time. I studied to be a dietitian, then went to business school, and then decided actually I need to broaden my horizons and moved over to the UK. And that's where my whole passion for fashion, because I just remember the first time I walked into Topshop. I mean, it was possibly the most exciting moment coming from South Africa, where there was no fashion really. We had My Fair Lady as a magazine, and we just didn't really do high fashion at all, to arriving in London and walking into Topshop.
And you're looking spectacular today, because I've already tried to steal your shoes off you, but look at them, Air and Grace, if anyone's interested, that you're only a size 5, so I can't steal them. And a Nobody's Child, fabulous dress, the bright red lips, which have almost become a calling card, and the glasses. Now, you wore glasses from the age of 7, but when did you decide they should become a fashion statement? Because they are really, if you think of you, I think of dark rimmed glasses.
Yeah. So when I remember, because my mother, she chose my glasses. I wore glasses from a really young age. I was humiliated by the fact that I had to wear glasses from the age of 7. So if you weren't in my class at school, you didn't know I wore glasses. So the minute anyone from another class would walk into our class, I would rip my glasses off and sit there. And the minute I walked out of class, my glasses were off, to the point that I was as blind as a bat. Constantly. So when I had to catch the bus home, I would stand at the bus stop, and the massive double-decker bus would come along, and it would have to come to a complete halt, and so I could focus on the number really close up, and then I go, no, not the right bus. I used to get so frustrated with me. I just lived my life in a bit of a blur because I didn't want anyone to know I wore glasses. And then when I went to uni, my mom got me a pair of quite big pale pink frames. And I studied a BSc in dietetics, nutrition, and I remember doing a chemistry experiment, and the experiment exploded. Luckily, I was wearing glasses because it kind of hit my glasses, and one part of the frame went yellow, and then the other part was like a pale pink, and I just looked like the biggest nerd in town. And that's when I just had this moment of, do you know what? If I have to wear glasses, I need to take ownership of that fact, and I need to find a pair of glasses that I actually enjoy wearing, and I'm not embarrassed about the fact that I need to wear glasses. And that's when I decided I got a job at uni, I saved up, and I walked into an optician, and I said, right, I want the trendiest, coolest pair of glasses in town. And I found they were kind of like this sort of ovally shape. And I remember they were sort of a burgundy color, metallic burgundy with really cool sides. And from that moment on, I just loved wearing my glasses, because I guess I'd chosen them, I'd embraced it, I'd selected a pair that made me feel good, and I was the girl with the cool glasses from that moment on.
And then you dyed your hair blonde?
And then, so my hair's kind of a mousy brown, and I guess, when I got to uni, I remember walking past the salon once, and the hairdresser came out and said, oh, would you be interested in being a hair model? I was like, yeah, model, anything with model when you're a girl. It's like, yes, I'm a model, brilliant. And I ended up being a hair model for him for about 4 years. We went to all the international hair shows together, and I had my hair dyed every color in the rainbow. Black with red stripes, mango purp, you name it, like every color you could possibly imagine, I had my hair dyed. And when that ended and I came through it, I just remember thinking, like, actually, I've seen myself in all these colors and styles, and I actually just want to settle for blonde. That's my happy place. So from that moment on, I've been blonde.
And long blonde?
And long blonde, yeah.
Yes.
Because again, for the hair shows, I had really angular bobs and all sorts of fabulous hairstyles. Yeah. And when I was doing my honours in dietetics, I had a crew cut. Like completely shaved my head with a very short bit on top.
Wow.
Really, really short, bright red. I should have brought pictures to show you.
You should have done, actually. Some really colourful looks you've had.
Really striking, really colourful. And I think just embracing that colour and trying to find my own style identity, and grew it out very painfully, and then cut a fringe, and just remember thinking how difficult. I just remember trying to grow that fringe out little bit by little, coming down. I thought, right, that's it. I'm just going to stick with long hair, wash and go, super easy to maintain. And, when I was younger, my hair was always super blonde growing up with the sun, but then it just I think it just naturally darkens as you get older anyway. So I just wanted to recapture that.
So you got into TV, sort of fell into TV, really, didn't you?
Yeah, in the good old days.
Remind everyone how that happened.
So where I was, I came over to the UK, and I thought originally I would go and work as a dietitian because that's what I trained as, but then quickly decided actually that wasn't what I wanted to do. Ended up working in the city as a management consultant and got made redundant from that. And I was just before my 30th birthday, and I remember thinking, like, what am I going to do with my life? And it was at the moment where I got called to HR to be told, Nicky, afraid this job's over. You're not going back to your desk. You need to go straight to IT with your laptop,
Wow, brutal.
It was very brutal. And I walked into IT, and they were like, oh, we're so sorry, Nicky, da-da-da. And what was funny is when I was at that consultancy job, everyone knew me, from the partner down to the coffee person, because my handbag always coordinated with my coat, and I always had the striking glasses. I had a few pairs of glasses, and everyone, oh yeah, is she the one that's always got that amazing handbag or coat? Yeah, so everyone knew who I was. I just wasn't particularly good at what I did, but everyone knew who I was from what I wore. And when I went into IT, he was like, oh, I'm so sorry, we're really going to miss all your amazing outfits. And I was like, don't worry, one day I'm going to be famous. Watch this space. And I just turned around in a sweep of coat and handbag, glasses flying, and walked out the office, and then literally collapsed in a ball at the front door going, oh my God, what am I going to do now? I'm 30 years old. I've just been made redundant. I'm really confused. I'm a dietitian, stroke management consultant, and I don't want to do any of that. What am I going to do? And a friend of mine had just trained to be a life coach, because this was all very new at that point. I thought, I'm just going to hire her and she can help me figure it out. And she said, what do you want to do? And I just, I just want to work in fashion.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, well, what could you do in fashion? I was already 30, and 30 is quite old to go into fashion. Like if you start working on a magazine, you start off much younger and you start unpacking the fashion cupboard and then you work your way up. So I was like, well, I'm way too old. I mean, it's ridiculous when you think about it now, but 30 just felt incredibly old to be going back and doing that. And that's when I came up with the concept of being I wanted to bring the idea of styling to the high street, because they were the celebrity stylists, but there wasn't anyone just doing it for normal people. Like, how could you just make them feel fabulous? Bearing in mind, I'd never styled anyone in my life before or ever trained. I just felt like I had this in me. So to cut a long story short, I then set up a website and very quickly realized I couldn't actually support myself on this full time, because it was a very new concept. And every time I kind of went to a networking event and sold it to people, they were like, why would someone pay someone to take them shopping? Like, why would you do that? And I was like, well, because it's going to, save you time, save you money. You're going to be putting in things to make you feel fabulous. And it took time for people to kind of get that. Now everyone understands it and knows what it is. So I very quickly realized I wasn't going to pay my mortgage. I needed to have a part-time job in PR while I was doing it. And I did that for about a year. And, it's when you start a new business, it's tough, particularly in a new industry. And I remember having one day of just feeling incredibly despondent. Like, what am I doing? Who am I kidding? I think I was 31 at that point. I was like, maybe I just need to go back into the city. I remember starting to Google jobs in the city. And as I was doing that, this email comes in from a production company they said, look, we've just got this new TV show commissioned. We're looking for a presenter. We found your website on the internet. Would you come in for a screen test? And that was 10 years younger.
And remind people what you did on 10 Years Younger, because I was obsessed with that show. You really did make people look 10 years younger and 10 years better. I mean, honestly, the transformations that you made. Have you got a favourite story? Or was there ever one that didn't work? I don't remember ever seeing one that didn't work.
Okay, favourite story is probably, there was two. There was Bernie, who was the first one we transformed, and she was a prison warden. And she'd had a really tough life, and I think she'd lost all her teeth, and she had terrible yellow straw hair, and, just really lost her looks through a tough situation. And most of the people on 10 Years Younger had a really tough backstory. And as was 10 Years Younger, everyone had a facelift, right? It was like 0 to 100. It was pre-tweakment time, a little bit of Botox, but there wasn't like the same level of sort of non-invasive tweakments that we have now. But she looked amazing. It was just so exciting. And she was a single mom and she started dating again. I just remember that being phenomenal. Maybe because it was our first transformation that really stuck in my mind. And the other one was Simon Delaney. So we'd had a few guys we transformed, and then Simon came along, and I think he was in his early 30s when he came on the show, which is actually quite young. But Simon was one of these amazing people who, when he was 17 or 18, he was on the British triathlon team.
Okay.
So he was like top of his field in terms of fitness and achievement, and one day went to a party and had a drink and fell off a cliff from that point on. And his entire life spiraled downhill as a result of that. And so he came to us in his early 30s and he had very few teeth left. He had a big bushy beard. He'd lost loads of weight. And we worked with him to get his fitness back up, to get his health back up, to, obviously do the cosmetic things like the teeth and the shaving that beard off. He looked amazing. So great that people were stopping me in the street the next day going, oh my God, remember the days when we had to watch that program the night before, night of, right?
Yes.
People stopping me in the street going, phenomenal. And it's often unusual to get a guy that has such a dramatic transformation, because often you're limited to, maybe they don't have hair, or maybe, there's less options than there are for women. But he was just phenomenal transformation. He looked properly gorgeous at the end. So yeah, lots of stories. And then of course there's the Kerry transformation that is still a viral loop on the internet that I'm constantly getting death threats over to this day. And she was probably our worst transformation, as the internet keeps telling me in TikTok and Instagram. But that was a long time ago, and you can't be perfect all the time.
Well, you can't be perfect all the time. I think that's awful, actually. You were doing your best for people. I mean, what what would you say clothes are armour for people?
I think they can be. I think, not everyone, I just think it's your superpower.
I do.
And if well, when I say it can be a superpower in the sense that you can project whatever you want to project depending on the outfit that you get into.
Okay.
So when you need that confidence boost, when you need to just, really have presence as you enter a room or you're delivering a talk or whatever it is, the outfit can make all the difference.
So it costs £1,200 to hire you for 3 days. If you were dating, that's probably a good idea, right?
It's a good idea. I mean, how many people spend tens of thousands of pounds on dating coaches, but then don't actually change their image? And I'm like, well, if you're going on a date, it's all, what is it, 7 seconds to make a first impression?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Let's get that right. Then let's get you in with the best chances of making the rest come together. But if that first impression, you know what it's like with internet, online dating, you get all excited, then you meet the person, you're just like, literally within a few seconds, you're like, how quickly can I get out of this situation?
Yeah.
So actually investing in your image is your calling card. And in this world where we've got AI and all these things, it's even more important that in real life that you are projecting that fabulous image of yourself.
So you have got a wonderful other half, which is one of the reasons that you're here. You've made it work for 20 years with Rob.
Yep.
But you were telling me that you knew the first second that you set eyes on him.
Yeah, so I had been single for a long time.
Yeah.
I'd had boyfriends, but I'd never really been in a long-term relationship. And I was 30, I think I was 31 at the time. And I was working in my part-time job in PR that I mentioned. And I remember one of the girls in the office said, who was younger than me, and she was in a long-term relationship. I think she was probably a good 8 years younger than me, so quite a bit younger than me. And she was like, oh, what kind of guys do you like? And at that point, I'd just come through speed dating. There wasn't any online apps yet, but I'd done the whole speed dating where you go along, get over-enthusiastic, tick lots of people, and then everyone ticks you. And then you realize, oh my God, actually, no, I don't even want to see these people. And I was just feeling a bit like, oh my God, I'm never going to meet anyone. It's just never going to happen for me. And so she was like, hi, what kind of guys do you like? And I was like, literally just sat there typing, going, I don't mean to be rude, but people that know me well have tried and failed. You, darling, who is 8 years younger than me, is not going to know anyone that I'm going to like. But thank you. Thinking, end of convo, we can move on. But no. Well, you never know, try me. And I literally just said, if he doesn't have biceps, don't waste my time. Thinking, conversation over, close that door.
Was sport that important to you?
Biceps doesn't have to be sporty to have biceps, darling. But yeah, no, I love just not, you know what I mean? You could just go to the gym. That doesn't mean you're sporty. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't necessarily play sport, but active. Physical health.
Active.
Yeah. My husband and I have always had this pact. One of our wedding vows was, you get fat, you're out.
You get fat, you're out. Blimey, that's a little bit tough.
No, but I know that's oh my God, that's going to be awkward.
I mean, my second partner wouldn't even never have got off the ground if that had been a rule.
But it's that thing of we both believe that you're attracted to someone when you're young because of they working out, they're looking after themselves, and actually it's important to me and to him that we maintain that throughout our lives and not just think, well, I'm married now, I'm just going to let it all go. So it's a joke, don't take me seriously on that. But obviously if he got fat, I'm not going to divorce him, but hopefully he doesn't.
You listening, Rob?
Yes. Don't.
It's a big one.
And it's the same way, right? So so she, I said biceps, she said yeah. I was like, okay, well, he's got to have blue eyes and be intelligent. She said, yep, got that. I was like, okay. And it went on and on and on. Eventually I said, well, look, if he lives north of the river, forget it. All right? I don't cross the river.
Oh, that's such a thing. My mum always used to say that to me. I moved south and she said, don't be ridiculous. People who live north of the river don't go south. And I said, I'm not moving to Australia, Mum. I'm just crossing the river. You
just don't tend to date someone across the river because in London it's like I don't know, it's just mentally a distance.
Yeah, you're north or south.
I mean, I had a boyfriend who lived in New York once and we used to literally commute every other weekend to see each other. But yeah, don't give me someone north of the river, darling. That is a deal breaker for me. So hopefully that is the end of the conversation. She goes,
so I'm not saying you were picky, Nicky.
I was trying to shut this woman up. Okay, no north of the river, please. literally haven't turned around. I'm still looking at my laptop typing, thinking which magazine shall I approach to sell the beauty products into. And she goes, no, he lives in Clapham. Okay, I live in Clapham. All right. Give me his email address. So we started emailing, and he sent me, hi, I'm Rob. I got your email address. And I was like, he's like,
emailing. Gosh,
emailing.
It's like we've got mail.
Yeah. It was so exciting. And he was like, shall we meet up for a drink? I was like, yeah, just make sure you bring your biceps. And just, when you just at that point in your life where you're like, this is just ridiculous. I'm just going to go along. No, it's not going to go anywhere. And then we're just going to move on from it. So I was like, bring your biceps. Anyway, he wasn't deterred. And he'd actually just come back from Thailand. And he was brown and buff. And he was wearing this like short sleeve linen green shirt. And weirdly, I was wearing a green boob tube. And his surname was Green. How weird was that? It was just like kind of, oh shit, I'm in a green.
This is kismet.
It's just so weird. Anyway, he said, green shirt by the door. He texted me as I'm walking to the pub. And I literally just walked in and I was like, hello. I mean, it was just like gorgeous. I was just gorgeous. Like, wow. He thought, jeepers, this woman's really intimidating and I don't know if she's for me. But I was like, I'm all in. It took him.
I have to say, you told me you were shy. You are very outgoing. You might be an introverted extrovert, but you're definitely an extrovert.
I'm definitely, yes, but I am shy. So
an introverted extrovert.
Yeah,
maybe,
there's certain. I mean, as a child, I was bitterly shy, really, really shy. And there's certain things where I really have to pluck up the courage, and I'm not great in big social events where I don't sort of know anyone. I find that really hard.
We haven't seen a lot of you for 10 years, but that is because you are now mummy of two, aren't you?
Yes.
15 and 12.
Yes.
A little boy called, 15, Ben.
6 foot tall, but yes.
6 foot tall, wow. Yes. Which one of you does he look like? Is he into clothes?
He is very into clothes and his image, yes.
Yeah.
Hours in front of the mirror. Can't get into the bathroom anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that Rob as well?
No. God. No, Rob is not into clothes at all. Complete opposite to me, yeah.
Okay. And your daughter? 12? Is she getting into...
She's getting, but I would say it's very slow compared to her contemporaries of the same age. So she's really pretty much fresh-faced, no makeup, likes fashion, but isn't into it on the same level as her brother. So no, she's actually not
she's
at all.
Only
she's more
12,
like Rob.
Though.
I know, but there's some girls even at 10 or 11 are there with the makeup and everything. And actually, I'm quite happy for it to be a slow burn. I don't want to wearing, too much makeup and also using lots of beauty products and disrupting that skin barrier that is so precious. So I'm fine with it. It's each their own.
I mean, I'm not sure what kind of advice you're going to give me now, the way that you were about Rob saying, I don't know if I'm even going to send an email. Has he got biceps? Has he got blue eyes? I mean, it's very specific. But what advice would you give to particularly women over 50? I mean, one thing that you do that I would say is not a look at me in a bad way, but it is a real statement, is you always have amazing red lips, right?
Yeah, that's my signature.
That's your
also
signature
my confidence.
thing. Right, your confidence.
Yeah,
so the book is partly that when we get into maybe even your mid-40s, women start to feel not invisible, but, you're not 25 anymore. We can't hide from that. So what advice would you give to people who feel that they've just separated from somebody and they're looking at their wardrobe and just thinking, I don't even know what to wear?
I would say, get a stylist, get an expert. Revenge is a big thing when you get divorced.
Oh, yes.
Turn yourself into the hottest version you can so that you feel amazing. Get that confidence back. Often by the time people have got divorced, their relationship hasn't been in a positive, usually in a good way for a while. Their confidence is completely eroded. And with that usually goes their image, what they're wearing, perhaps you put on a bit of weight. I would say, get a stylist. It doesn't even matter if you need to lose weight or not. Just get a wardrobe that makes you feel amazing. I talk about in the book about having an alter ego, is literally being able to step into that version of yourself, even when you're not feeling it. And you can only do that with clothes that make you feel like that. So number one, work on the external. And maybe that sounds superficial, but I just think if you get the external right, the confidence comes. And constantly doing makeovers on people who've been through rocky times, divorces, illness, deaths, all sorts of things. And I just put them in an outfit, and you can just see them light up again and get back to that old version of themselves, get that spark back. And I always say to people, I don't make people look younger, I give people confidence. And when you are at rock bottom and you don't know where to begin, you don't know how you're going to go out there and have to maybe find a job, go on dates, the best place to start is in your wardrobe. Get a few pieces that make you feel like $1 million, make you feel like the person that you used to be or the person you deserve to be. And the rest will fall into place.
Do you know, this is a really true story. When I split from my 17-year partner, there was someone who works here. She's very nice. I'm going to name her. She's probably going to be mortified. She's called Denise de Groot. And she said to me, you can come on a holiday with me if you like. Because I had no one to go with, and I was completely by myself. And so I said, okay. And she knocked on my door and she said, where the F do you think you're going wearing that? I had a black one piece and a pair of black shorts that I'd had forever. And I went, the pool. And she went, well, no, you're not sitting anywhere near me.
Good
and
for
she
her.
took
What a good
me
friend.
and she made me throw everything away. And she does have lovely taste. And I still make her come up to my local shops because I don't buy anything without her okay. She actually chose this dress that I'm wearing today.
Love that dress.
Get this, get that, and like I'm saying to you today, oh, where are they from? Where's that dress from? I do think clothes give you a confidence when you're feeling really bad about yourself. I was laughing. I threw the wardrobe that I went to Turkey with was not the wardrobe I came back with.
And you were projecting how you were feeling in that wardrobe instead
I
of
just had the
projecting
clothes.
something else,
Sometimes when you've been in a relationship, it's not just about the loss of confidence, but you've had the same jeans for 20 years.
You haven't had to worry about what you look like.
No, it wasn't that I didn't worry about what I looked like, but I didn't think it bothered him. Well, clearly it did. Clearly it did. And I just felt better about myself, not just for dating, but for me, even just to come to work, etc. You don't want to look awful.
But I think there's also something in that, is that even if you're not divorced, when we get into when we're in a long-term relationship, a marriage that's been going on for more than 10 years, we do just often, I see ladies morph into comfort, right? So it doesn't really matter what he thinks. And actually, we should still be dressing as if it's a first date with our husbands and our partners and really making that extra bit of effort. That's what keeps it exciting and keeps them engaged, and showing respect for yourself, but also showing respect for the relationship, because people just naturally stop making effort when they go out with their husbands after they've been together for a long time.
So
and actually, we need to
do you
dial
really
that.
look like this every day?
I do. I make this effort all the time. I mean, my husband would quite happily be frankly happy if I walked around in tracksuit pants and a sweatshirt. But I always dress up for date night. I dress up.
Do you have
for
date
work.
night?
Yeah.
Once a week?
Well, we
What
were
do you
better
do?
when the kids were younger, I have to be honest, because
Okay.
then we had, it's easier to get them in bed at 7 and then go out. Now they don't go to sleep till 11, so it's harder. But, just the movies and hold hands, or go out for dinner, or, I don't know, do something fun to go. I love going to immersive things, because
Oh, do
that's
you?
really, again, it's a new experience, but you're not necessarily just sitting there chatting the whole time, because I
Yeah.
think that can also be a bit boring.
Do you believe in the one?
Do I believe in what?
In the one? Did you know
I
Rob
do
was
believe in the one. I mean, when I meet younger girls all the time, and I say, oh, have you got anyone in your life? And they're like, no, I'm just, and I was like, you just haven't met the one. You just know. I honestly believe there's a lid for every pot. And I know often there's more than one pot in your life, in the sense that people can go through relationships.
Yeah.
But I particularly think when you're younger.
So I've had several lids and pots.
So, yes. But there is that. Have you ever had,
Yeah.
you walked into that room, you were just like, yeah.
Yeah,
And you didn't know
yeah.
anything about him.
No.
You just were like, yeah, that's it. And
No.
and that
But
moment
that's quite
is
a
so
superficial
powerful.
thing, though. It was.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I mean,
But you've got to have that as a starting point. And the problem is, what I find with friends is that often there isn't even that as a starting point. And then it's like, well, you know, we got on quite well and we, you know, had a nice chat and he seemed sweet. And I'm just like, no, you've got to have that boom. And then obviously the other bits need to support it as well. But I find people compromise a lot these days because perhaps they give up.
Well, I suppose that is one of the things I did learn from him, that you don't have to.
There you go.
Because you start to think, oh, in my 50s, I mean, you know, grow up. He's a nice guy. Why would you not?
Is he older or younger?
Oh, he's younger.
Oh, exciting. See, my husband's younger as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's the way to go.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
really do.
But that's so inspirational.
But that keeps you younger too, I think, because you think, oh, better buy the leather jacket.
Get fat, you're out.
Get fat. Yeah, well, he's running marathons, so I think that's probably not on the cards. Oh, my goodness. Does Rob ever give you feedback on what you're wearing?
Yeah, sometimes he'll say nice things. Or the other day I walked in and there's quite not racy, but it was quite a statement suit, like, you know, it's quite all over print, and he just packed out laughing. I was like, darling, it's fashion. He's like, yeah, of course. Yeah, he does, but I mean, I don't take any of it on board. I just still wear it.
Okay.
I mean, he's used to that.
And do you do any sort of mini makeovers at home on those three?
Not on my kids, because obviously they know so much more about fashion than I do. And I'm constantly trying to support my husband in his style, but he has very awkward body shape that is actually really challenging to style, in the sense he's got really big calves, and to find trousers that fit them is difficult. And he also has very strong ideas about what he will and won't wear. So, you know, he's probably my toughest client. But I buy all his clothes, let's put it that way.
Oh, okay. So what is the biggest lesson you've learnt about yourself since turning 50?
That life is short. And if you have a dream, you've simply got to go for it. I think for me, I've turned 50 and just felt incredibly mortal all of a sudden, because I remember when I was made redundant from my city job before I started my styling business, and I took my redundancy payout and went to Mauritius for a week on my own. And I remember writing out, you know, my dream life. And one of those things was, oh, I'm going to have a villa in Tuscany one day and I'm going to do this. And you just feel you've got this big future ahead of you. And all of a sudden I woke up at 50 and I just thought, wow, I'm 50. I still don't have that villa in Tuscany. And all of a sudden, I don't have years ahead of me to achieve all these things. So best I wake up, smell the coffee and get on with it.
And write a book.
And get back to following my dreams. Because again, being a mom, it does put your career on hold. I wanted to be there for my kids, and you just don't have the same level of time that you can invest in your career. So yeah, you haven't seen me for a long time. But turning 50
I'm
made me...
I'm delighted that you're back.
Yay! I'm so happy being
You've
back.
inspired me to get down to Nobody's Child and get myself some Mary Grace trainers, that's for sure. Yeah. Now, I have this thing called the Suddenly Single Honesty Box. Yeah, I'm coming up. Girl talk or therapy?
Girl talk.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
You?
Girl talk. I've never seen a therapist, although I've been on the edge of thinking I should do several times.
But you never needed to, because your girls...
I just talk to my girls.
Yeah. I mean, life without girls... I mean, I think your girlfriends are almost more important than your husband or anything else in your life, because they are the ones that keep you from the brink when you are questioning everything.
Have you got a new one?
Oh, tattoos. Turn on or off. No, I'm not a tattoo person.
I'm not a tattoo person unless you're Pete Wicks. And then while I think that clearly speaks to, you know, whatever.
He's very sexy, yeah.
He's the only person I would say it works on. I don't like them as a rule.
Would you do them on yourself?
Never.
No, I just wouldn't. I mean, I just can't think of any artwork I permanently want on myself either. No. I mean, David Beckham looks pretty good with his, but you have to be a certain kind of person. And I've actually bribed my kids that if they get to the age of 25 without a tattoo, then I will pay them money.
Oh, now I know the answer. For me, what qualities do you value in a romantic relationship? One very big one for me. Not literally.
Well, trust, I think, is really important.
Fidelity.
Yeah, fidelity. Well, that's part of trust, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's part of trust, to be able to I just couldn't imagine.
Because it does rip your trust when someone
Well, you never get
you.
that back. I just honestly don't believe
back.
you will ever get it back. And I am not prepared to be turned into one of those people who is always paranoid every time they leave the house that they are talking to someone or doing something. I'm not prepared to be that person. So for me, it's a complete deal breaker.
It is a deal breaker.
It just is. It's just one of those things because you just never come back from it.
But it is also pretty hard to then be with someone new.
Yes.
And I actually know it in myself. I used to be extremely confident. It never occurred to me that anyone would cheat on me. It just didn't occur.
No.
Now I think, But yeah.
You know what I have to say? Cheating is quite tiring. I mean, who's got the time in their life to have another relationship going on the side? I mean, I struggle just to get through a day and deal with my husband and my kids. I mean, how do people do this?
I have a new theory on it now. I think people that cheat have very low self-esteem.
Of course they do.
Because they imagine that the person that they're with is going to leave them at some point. So they might as well line up someone else because it's ultimately going to happen.
Of course it's that. Absolutely.
And I think it's quite a self-destructive
And also
thing.
I think there's that element that, people are always chasing that adrenaline rush you get from a new relationship, a fling. It's exciting, as we get into the midlife, life can feel a bit dull sometimes, and it's just very samey. You're dealing with the same problems every day with your kids and having the same conversation with your husband, and it can just feel dull. And then someone comes along and it's all very exciting and they're interested in you and they're chatting and you're like, oh, actually, this could be quite nice. And before you know, you've gone down that road. So that's why it's so important to keep that spice alive in your relationship. Make an effort with your appearance, go on those dates, and don't just settle. Well, I'm safe in my relationship because you're not. High heels or comfort. Do you know what? If I could wear high heels all the time, I would. I absolutely love a heel because I'm short. I'm only 5'5". I mean, I know that's not short,
That's
but
not short.
But I feel taller, slimmer, and like I own the room in heels, whether it's a heel boot or whether it's even if it's a small heel. So
So going on a first date, put those shoes on.
Always
girls.
wear a heel. It gives you presence and your posture changes. Gets the boobs out, gets your shoulders back. That's why we wear heels. And I do wear trainers. I'm wearing my trainers today.
Yeah, I love them.
But usually it's just to get London's, a walking city, and I'm tubing and I'm on the train, and so it's more a practical thing. As soon as I get there, heels in the bag, put them on.
Yes. Okay, so this is the last question. What is your ideal date night with your husband? Where do you go? What keeps the magic alive for 20 years, Nicky Hambleton-Jones?
My ideal date night is, well, first of all, if he organised it, that would be great. It is, I love spontaneity. So my ideal date night, this would be more than a night, but if he took me to the airport and said, pick a destination, and had packed a bag for me and we flew somewhere for literally 24 hours, that would be the most exciting thing ever.
Oh,
he wouldn't do that though.
You're listening.
Because he's not that kind of person. But that I just love unknown. Whereas he's, Mr. Safe, all ducks in a row, know exactly what's happening. Whereas I am all about that spontaneous moment, like just being somewhere and going, do you know what? Shall we just, I remember once when I was at uni and me and my friends were just sitting watching TV and they were like, shall we just drive to Durban and, go to a show? And we're like, yeah. And so we literally just got in the car and then drove like 1 hour there, partied all night, and then drove back. And it's just...
But if he booked it, he would be in his safe space because he would know when you were going.
That's true. That's true. So maybe I need to encourage him
maybe you could next
to
time
do, because I'm the one more likely to organise that sort of thing, and then he would just be very uncomfortable with it. But I need him to. Yeah, he needs to. I remember once also my cousin. He was living in New York, and I flew over to New York for the weekend to see him or whatever, and I landed at the airport. And he said, I'll meet you there. And he picked me up, and he happened to have a limousine full of 5 of his gorgeous young friends. They were all like early 20s then. And we then drove in this limo to another part of the airport where he had a helicopter waiting. And we all got in the helicopter and flew right across Manhattan and landed on New Jersey and had this amazing dinner overlooking Manhattan. It was literally like the most exciting day ever.
Wow.
I mean, can you imagine? Just that unexpected fabulousness. And that's when I feel alive. That's when I feel like I'm actually living rather than existing. And I think if we have more of those moments, if you share more of those moments as a couple, then you don't have that monotony. But half the time, all that excitement's at the beginning, and then it's just like, oh yeah, whatever. Change the channel, watch something on your iPad. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do. Well, Nicky Hambleton-Jones, thank you for coming in, and thank you for bringing your book.
Yes.
Bolder,
not older. You heard me. If you're getting divorced, you need to get a stylist and get a hot outfit or buy this book.
Yeah, exactly.